So the first of these 7 things is ubiquitous learning. And by ubiquitous, we mean anywhere, anytime. And what I want to do is I want to start off by contrasting that with traditional classroom setups or what I would call didactic pedagogy. Okay, so the first thing about a traditional classroom is it has 2 forms of confinement going on, 2 forms of boundedness. Boundedness in space and boundedness in time. And the space is simply this. When the classroom was invented in the 19th century, and the classroom as an artefact is really only about 150 years old in its current form, it becomes something which is universal by some point in the 20th century with mass compulsory education where nearly all the world's population goes to school. So this is a big shift in terms of human social practices. So when the classroom's invented, it's typically a space where everybody can hear the teacher speaking at one time. So it's actually a space where you've got 20 or 30 learners, or if you've got a lecture theatre, the audio is such that you can hear the speaker speaking. In the era before microphones, without a microphone, and it's so if you like, that space is created as a kind of a communication space, a communications architecture. Now, one of the peculiar things about that space and that confinement is practically only one person can speak at a time if everybody's to hear that. So there's something about that. So the first thing is the space. It's called the classroom. It's got 4 walls. But the second thing with time is called the timetable, where your lesson that you're having, so let's say it's a geography lesson, starts at 10 o'clock and finishes at 10:40. So we all have to be in the same space at the same time, to hear the teacher at the same time, to have classroom discussions at the same time. There's a necessary simultaneity in that communications architecture. Now, of course, even with traditional pedagogy, we tried to blur those boundaries a bit. It was called take home the textbook and do some homework. It was called distance education. So it's not as if the classroom completely confined us, but it was a kind of focal point. Now, the interesting thing about these new technologies is a phenomenon that we call ubiquitous learning. And where that idea comes from is it actually is a kind of a riff on the idea of ubiquitous computing. So some years ago, the idea of ubiquitous computing was created, which is we have these devices with us everywhere and all around us, which are computing devices. So today we have phones, we have laptops, but we have also a whole lot of intelligent household devices like televisions or fridges that ring bells or whatever. So computing is all around us. So the ubiquitous learning idea means that learning can be all around us, and we can have these profound learning relationships which once really could only happen in a classroom or could only be centred around the classroom. Those same learning relationships can happen with the same intensity without the confinements of time and space that are in the traditional classroom.
Ubiquitous learning is certainly an idea that is now becoming itself ubiquitous, the idea that learning can happen anywhere at any time. And the reason why it's become, of course, learning happens anywhere at any time, always. That's humans are learning creatures. But when we use the word ubiquitous learning, we're really referring to what the new technology has made possible for us and the degree to which it might be able to contribute continuously to the sorts of goals we've always had in education, which is the habits of mind of a learner. What kind of habits are we talking about, and what kind of habits might ubiquitous learning with the use of the new technology encourage? Well, first of all, it's persistence, discerning what matters as you trawl through what is available on the internet, to be inquisitive, to keep searching. I mean, the search function of the internet is really indicative of a kind of habit of mind that is required when you go into it, because you need to be continuously asking questions, searching for information, being flexible about how you move around in that space, open to the many things that are available and the many actors and who are contributing to the space that we call the internet. And of course, it also requires a certain kind of independence as you weave your way through it and as you choose information and as you choose the type of engagement. But certainly, it has made possible access to many more people, many more experts, many more data points that will enable information about something that you need to know about, or learning, whether it's formal learning, informal learning, or just out of interest. So certainly something very different is happening that we as educators need to figure out how we harness for the spaces that we work in and for the goals that we have. One of the other features of this type of ubiquitous learning through the internet and the digital spaces that are now available is the collapsing, of course, of time and space. So that makes a huge, huge difference for what we think about and how we plan learning and teaching. It also provides what we call lifelong and life-wide learning in structured as well as non-structured encounters. It's constant and explicit learning, and more interestingly and important for us as educators is whatever you do in that space is discoverable. You know, every search engine you look at, every information you look up, every artifact that you create in the space can be tagged, can be searched, and can be used for multiple purposes. So this is an extraordinary new environment which has enormous potentials for us. So why does it matter? Why are we thinking about ubiquitous learning in this way? Well, one reason is that we are, as educators, producing types of people. And if you think about the classroom at the moment and the type of people we produce, there's a huge contrast. Just simply in the types of people in schools that have to work by the timetable, by periods. You know, you're doing a history lesson and searching some information about any particular topic, and then the bell rings and it's over. I mean, what do? Do you wait till the next period? Do you follow up on your own? Of course, in the ubiquitous space of the digital environment, there are no bells other than the ones that you choose for yourself. Waiting to take your turn in a traditional classroom, the rigours of a textbook that guide you, the separation between schoolwork and homework, and of course the controlled ways in which assignments are set and managed in the traditional classroom. There's a huge, huge difference in the affordances of the traditional classroom and the affordances of the ubiquitous learning spaces that are produced by the new digital technologies. So, what does this mean for us, particularly given that on a daily basis we're seeing extraordinary shifts in this space? The new technology keeps opening up and providing us with new affordances for interaction, for information, and for creativity. And it is very vital for us as educators to not think of these spaces as spaces on the side, but as spaces that are entering our children's lives, our learners' lives, and our lives increasingly. And we need to harness them for teaching and learning, and to see them as tools that might open up new partners and new experts who could help us in the goal of enhancing performance for all learners.